Hey friends, this is a patron-only video available to patrons of World Drum Club. I'm going to do a little bit of a breakdown on the live looping video that I just posted, and that has to do with the Santor, with this instrument right here. We'll get back to that in a second. I used a lot of instruments, and I thought, maybe it would be educational for you to learn a little bit about the tuning, and I'll explain a little bit about how I approached playing that. It's actually pretty simple harmonically. You might be surprised how easy it is to play something like that. I was using a thing called the Andalusian cadence, which is a popular cadence in Spanish music, gypsy music. It works in the Arab idiom too. And so let me play the track. I'll play you all the parts I eventually looped, and then we'll go through and kind of look at these one by one. So here is the finished product. This is all the tracks together. All right, pretty loud, kind of intense. I got a lot of things going in there. So I started with the Santor, and I'm going to start with that here and just review what it is real quick. So it's a multi-stringed instrument, and it has a lot of strings, but actually there's only, what is it, nine notes, 9 different notes. And there's an octave here. And you can hear, hopefully you can hear that it's just an octave plus 1 note. I'm trying to get these from touching. The strings are moving around. But the way this is set up is that these notes over here, the silver ones, are repeats of these silver notes. And they're just an octave higher. Right? And then, so really, there's still just 9 notes, and there's just upper octave, middle octave, and then over here is the lower octave. If I can play it. So really, it's just 9 notes. 9 notes in 3 different octaves, but it's not that complicated. And what I've got harmonically, let me use the melodeon to show you. I start on E. Right? That's, sorry, I'm going to talk with this mouthpiece in my mouth. That's down here. And then it goes. Right? It's not really in tune right now, but that's what it is. That's all it is. Just white notes on the piano from E to F. So let's hear that again. Oop. And then these are the same. All right, so it's not really, that complicated. It's 9 notes, and I have them tuned to white keys on the piano. Pretty simple A minor, the notes in the A minor. And the reason the native flute works with the Native American style flute in A is because they overlap those notes. So on the flute, Those notes, let's go back to the overhead. Those notes on the flute are here. And I can get F. So even though the flute doesn't start exactly where the Santor starts in its tuning, it still has the same notes, basically. And I can do some slightly different fingerings, and I can play around with, you know, a few notes. But basically, they're tuned together, so it's not that difficult to to make them match. And then what I had percussively was, and I'm not going to play really loud right now because this mic is hotter than it was for the recording. But I use the Cajon, which I have down here, and that's a Kopf Cajon. I used, and I played the Saidi rhythm. Sorry. Tak doom doom tak doom tak doom doom tak doom tak doom doom. Low high low low high low high low low high, and then I doubled that on the darbuka. And then I added, for the zills, I have this little snare drum, which is like a little timbali snare. I've had this a long time. It's made by Toka / when they were doing Legend drums. I have this drum set called Legend. There used to be a brand called Legend, and I still have the set. And this matches that. And I use this as a little, it's got a little snare inside. And it's like just a little snare drum with jingles. So in future videos, I'm going to use this more. It's like a piccolo snare, but what I did, since it's basically a tambourine snare drum, is I flipped it over and then I used it, you know, as just a jingle sound to add that kind of interest. Let me see if I can find that. Is it here? Yeah. How fun is that rim shot? So you can hear there the cajon and the jingles, and then I also cranked the reverb way up, and I did a rim shot on that later on in the recording, and I used this reverb. That's the long reverb. So that's what's on that track. What's over here? So what's on that is the darbuka, and then I added this little hi-hat, and I just, you know, played a little bit of chicka 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 chicka. Now it's not. Yeah, just hi-hat. Just for a little metal, you know, a little metal stuff going. And actually it covers up some of my inconsistencies. So that's a little looping secret for you. Just put some stuff in there. And it, you know, because when you do live looping, it's really hard to get everything super precise. And actually, once I start layering in a few instruments, I can't hear the click or anything. I'm just going kind of on feel at that point. So those two together, all that stuff, all the percussion. And so that's all glued together now. I can't undo that. Once you record several things, I know there's a way to undo the last thing you recorded on a track, but I'm not sure how to do that. So I'm not going to talk about it. But you can certainly, you know, play and mute different batches, different buckets of sound. What I have over here is the Santor and maybe something else. Let me see. So just a drone. And then on the other side, basically the same thing. So I've just got a drone on A, and the reason I do that on the edges, I look at my looper very visually, and I have those two on each side, is because if you're listening in stereo, you know, if you're watching this on your phone in front of you, you're probably not hearing the stereo image. But if you have a nice set of speakers or earbuds or headphones, then you're going to hear those on the edges of the mix, and I think it gives it a really nice imaging quality, you know, where you hear the same basic sound, but you're hearing different versions of it pan to the sides. And that's kind of a recording trick also to give something fullness. And then in the middle, I believe we have the descending melodeon chord progression. Okay, so let me explain that. So what I was doing there was playing on the Santor. I was playing the descending, this descending lines. I started here on the A. F, E, A, G, F, E. And that is the bass line. That's called the Andalusian cadence. It's a descending cadence, minor key, and you start with A minor, and you go to G major, and then F major, and then E7 or E major. It could be E7 too. Right? You guys have heard that. It's in a zillion songs, right? Gypsy Kings, all sorts of songs use that Andalusian cadence. So that actually fits really well with this setup. It's just easy for me to play. I'm not, you know, a Santor player. I just figured this out. I can only play a few things, but I'm just trying to maximize those few things and turn them into something musical. So that's what's happening on that. And then the native flute kind of fits over that pretty well. And then the funny thing on that, where you can hear that there's an effect on this looper. What is it called? Vinyl flick. It's called vinyl flick. And so you hear that on this track, and I didn't know. I use the vinyl flick in there to it takes your whole looping mix and it goes round, right? It sounds like you slowed down, like you grabbed a record, right? It was playing on a record, and you grab it and it slows down and it goes bow. I didn't realize, and I learned it during that recording, that it would record that effect on the loop. So I already had the loop going of the, you know, the descending chords, but I guess I still had it in record mode, and then I did the vinyl flick, and it actually, you know, saved that. So now that particular part of the track, the Santor, I think it's the Santor part. It might be both. Let's hear it again. Okay, so it's just on the melodeon, not on the Santor, because I added the Santor after that. And one of the reasons I added it was because I noticed that the melodeon was just getting cut. It was just going bow on the last chord. Now, I didn't intend that to happen. It just happened, and I'm not gonna redo this whole video. You know, I wasn't gonna start over just because of that. So it was kind of cool. It's kind of a cool effect. I don't know. You just work with it. And I also used a couple other effects during the playback part. Let me turn these volumes down a little. I used a flanger, which is I'll put it on in a second. The flanger. here's no flanger, and then I'm going to turn it up so you can hear it. Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of an effect. I thought it was cool. I probably overused it. Now I've looked at the video since I made it, and I thought, well, it's kind of a lot of flanging. You don't want to overdo it with that stuff. But there's so many things going on while I'm doing the live looping. Sometimes I just forget to turn the flanger off. There's another effect on here that is a slicer. What is it called? Oh, it's just called beat repeat. Beat repeat. And then you have if you turn the beat repeat on and you turn the dial, what it does is it starts shortening your loop and then just repeating the shortened, the more you turn the dial, the shorter it makes your loop, and it just repeats that shorter part. In other words, it's like a light, like a light shining on a wall or something, or a painting, and you turn the dial and you see less of it, and then it's looping that, right? So it's basically like a dynamic length selector for the loop. So let me play the percussion, and I'm just going to turn the dial so you can kind of hear how that works. You hear it in the recording, but I'm just saying it's called beat repeat. Here we go. So it goes from, pretty long to super short, right? Like not even a whole beat. So if you crank it all the way up, all right. So, again, once in a while, it's kind of fun to do that. I don't want to make a whole thing about the effects, of course. But I think in certain instances, if you can do it musically, of course, and that's what I'm trying to do, is use these musically and just add some interest in there. Because the looper is really like another instrument, right? It's like a DJ. I mean, the turntables are the instrument, whether you're flying stuff in from computers or doing it all through just on vinyl or whatever you're using. And DJing is hard. It's way harder than it looks. I have so much respect for DJs and people that are able to mix and scratch and do all that stuff. That is amazing. It's an amazing skill. Those people are incredible. I just say that because I've walked up to like a turntable set and tried to do some of that stuff, and it is like an instrument, legit instrument. It takes as much skill as playing any other instrument, like playing an instrument. So I'm just kind of hitting a button and turning knobs over here. It's very, very basic, but still, if it makes things more interesting or just creative, then that's what it's about. And it's live looping, so you just go for it, and it's hit or miss. Some of the stuff I do, I probably wouldn't have done. But you could say that about everything. You can say that about anything you do in life, basically. So I think that's basically all I wanted to cover for you guys in this video. Of course, if you have any specific questions for me about any of this, I'm happy to answer them. Use the messaging system in Patreon, or you can message me through my website, kalanimusic.com. And if you're also interested in any lessons on any of these, I have courses, for some of this, and I'm adding some more course content. But if you'd like to have a single lesson, or you want to sign up for the lessons tier, you could do that as well if you want to dig in a little more and get some more guidance and get some inspiration and be held accountable. Because sometimes that's actually what we need, is somebody checking in on us and moving us forward. All right, thanks for watching, and thanks for being a patron of the channel. I really appreciate it. And this is New Year's Eve, so Happy New Year. If I don't see you guys sooner, well, you might see me sooner. I probably won't see you. Yeah, enjoy the channel. Thanks a lot, you guys. See you soon.